40 ex-inmates covered in prison tattoos surrounded the luxury car when the corporate executives laughed at the veteran in the rain. Marcus Doc Williams, with scars from 12 years in the system still marking every muscle, stepped forward with presence that made grown men go silent. "She doesn't today. Leave her alone," he said in a voice that once commanded respect behind bars. But what the executives didn't know was that Doc had been convicted for protecting someone powerless, and he'd served every single day without regret. What happened in the next few minutes changed not just that veteran, but an entire neighborhood that learned the most judged can become the greatest protectors. You ever imagine that someone with the darkest past can have the most protective heart? That's exactly what happened with Marcus Williams. And what he discovered that day completely changed everything. You're going to understand why this story shocked people across the country. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and stay with me until the end, because what happened in this story, nobody was prepared to see. And trust me, you'll never look at a person by their past the same way again. Sarah Mitchell, 34 years old, stood in the pouring rain outside Henderson Finance Corporation in downtown Portland, Oregon. The cold November water mixed with something she refused to call tears. Her worn military boots were soaked through. The interview suit, bought at a thrift store, clung to her thin frame. In her hand, crumpled and wet, was rejection letter number 43. Each one said the same thing in corporate language. "We've decided to move forward with other candidates." What they meant was clear. 6 years as an Army medic in Iraq meant nothing when you came home with visible scars and invisible wounds. Sarah had her 6-year-old daughter, Emma, waiting 3 blocks away at the public library. Emma, with her mother's determined brown eyes and her father's smile. A father she'd never meet because an IED in Fallujah made sure of that. Sarah was supposed to pick her up 2 hours ago, but she'd been sitting on this bench outside Henderson Finance, staring at their glass building, watching people in expensive suits walk past her like she was invisible. She'd served her country. She'd saved lives under fire. She'd carried wounded soldiers through hell. And now she couldn't get a job as a medical assistant making $15 an hour. Rain came down harder. Sarah didn't move. What was the point? Go back to the shelter where they had 1 more week before the 30-day limit kicked them out? Tell Emma they'd be moving again? Her daughter had already changed schools twice this year. The little girl who used to draw pictures of houses with gardens now drew pictures of temporary places with no roots. Sarah had tried everything. The VA promised help that never came. Social services had waiting lists 6 months long. Every apartment required first month, last month, and deposit she didn't have. Every job wanted recent experience she couldn't show because the last 3 years had been surviving, not working. That's when the executives came out. 4 of them, mid-40s, expensive suits with umbrellas, laughing about something on someone's phone. They had to walk past Sarah's bench to reach the parking garage. She didn't look up. She'd learned to make herself small, invisible. But her military backpack with the American flag patch was visible. One of the executives, a tall man with silver hair and a suit that cost more than Sarah made in a month when she had income, stopped. "Hey, is that a military bag?" His voice had that false friendliness of someone about to make a point. Sarah looked up slowly. "Yes, sir. Army, 6 years, medical corps." The man exchanged looks with his colleague. They were all grinning now, that particular smile of people who think they're clever. "Let me guess. You want a job?" Sarah stood up. Even soaking wet and exhausted, military posture came automatic. "I applied 3 times to your company, sir. For medical assistant, for office administrator, for facilities coordinator. All positions I'm qualified for." The silver-haired executive laughed. Actually laughed. "Sweetheart, we're a Fortune 500 financial corporation. We need people with stability, people who show up, people who don't have episodes." The way he said episodes made it clear he'd looked at her application. Made it clear he knew about the medical discharge. Made it clear he knew about the PTSD diagnosis she'd been required to disclose. Sarah felt heat rise in her chest despite the cold rain. "I show up, sir. I showed up every day for 6 years in a combat zone. I showed up when mortars were falling. I showed up when my convoy got hit and I had to put my friend's intestines back in his body while under fire. I show up. The executive's smile didn't fade. If anything, it got worse. More condescending. That's admirable. Really. Thank you for your service. The phrase came out like rehearsed corporate speak, empty of meaning. But we need people who fit our culture. People without baggage. I'm sure you understand. He started to walk away. His colleagues followed, still grinning, already moving on to their next conversation. Something broke in Sarah. Not violently, quietly. She sat back down on the bench in the rain and just stared at nothing. She'd faced enemy fire. She'd held dying soldiers. She'd survived explosions and violence and heat that melted skin, but she couldn't survive coming home. The country she'd protected didn't protect her back, and now she was going to have to tell her 6-year-old daughter they had nowhere to go. That's when the van pulled up. Actually, 3 vans, 15-passenger work vans, the kind construction crews use, painted with the words, Second Chance Reintegration Project. And from those vans came 40 men with stories, written on their bodies in tattoo ink and scar tissue. 40 men who'd made mistakes that cost them years. 40 men who'd paid their debt and were trying to build something different. They'd been on their way back from a job site, renovating a community center on the east side, when their leader Marcus Williams saw what was happening. Marcus, 6'2", 51 years old, with arms covered in faded prison tattoos he'd gotten decades ago, and newer ink covering the old, stepped out first. He'd spent 12 years in Oregon State Penitentiary for aggravated assault. He'd protected a teenager from a predator and put the man in the hospital. The law saw assault. Marcus saw justice. He'd paid his time every single day, and when he got out 7 years ago, he'd made a promise. Use what he learned in the worst place to help people in the worst situation. Behind him came 39 others, each one with a story, each one with a crime, each one with a choice to be different now. Marcus walked straight to Sarah, who looked up startled, instinctively defensive. 40 men approaching would make anyone nervous. But Marcus stopped at a respectful distance, and his voice when he spoke was gentle despite his appearance. Ma'am, I'm Marcus Williams. I run the Second Chance Project. We help people transitioning from incarceration back to regular life. I saw what just happened with those suits. He gestured toward where the executives had disappeared into the parking garage. And I want you to know something. Whatever they said, they're wrong. Sarah stared at him, at the tattoos visible on his neck despite the work shirt, at the scars, at the 40 men standing behind him in the rain, not leaving, just present. I'm not a criminal, she said quietly, defensively. Marcus smiled, sad and understanding. No, ma'am. You're a soldier who served. But I'm guessing right now you feel like society threw you away same as they did us. Am I wrong? Sarah's throat closed up. She couldn't speak. She just shook her head. Marcus crouched down to her eye level, not towering, making himself smaller despite his size. How long since you ate a real meal? Sarah's stomach answered for her, growling audibly. She flushed with embarrassment. I have a daughter, Emma. She's 6. She ate this morning. I made sure. Something passed over Marcus's face. Recognition, pain, understanding. He stood and turned to his crew. Anybody got their lunch still? 15 hands went up, holding lunch bags, thermoses, sandwiches wrapped in foil. Within seconds, Sarah had more food in front of her than she'd seen in days. Nobody made a big deal of it. Nobody made her feel small. They just gave. Marcus pulled out his phone. You said your daughter's Emma. Where is she? Sarah hesitated, then the exhaustion won over caution. Library, 3 blocks east. I'm late picking her up. Marcus nodded to 2 of his crew, both younger guys in their 30s. Go get her. Tell the librarian her mom sent you. Bring her back here. He looked at Sarah. They're good men. Both got kids. Both know what it's like to miss time with them. Then to Sarah gently, eat. Then we talk about what happens next. Sarah wanted to argue, wanted to say she didn't need charity. But she was so tired, so hungry, and for the first time in months, someone was helping without judgment. She ate while the crew waited in the rain like it was nothing. Emma arrived 10 minutes later, running to her mother despite the rain, small backpack bouncing. Mommy! These nice men said you sent them." Sarah grabbed her daughter, held her close, breathing in the kid shampoo smell of her hair. Then Emma looked around at the 40 tattooed ex-inmates surrounding them and said with perfect 6-year-old logic, "Are these your friends, Mommy? They look tough, like superheroes." The crew burst into surprised laughter. Marcus crouched down to Emma's level. "What's your name, little warrior?" Emma stood straighter. "Emma Marie Mitchell. My daddy was a soldier too. He died being brave." Marcus's expression softened impossibly. "Then you come from warriors, and warriors take care of each other." That's when the executives came back. They'd gotten to their cars in the parking garage and apparently decided the scene outside their building, 40 obvious ex-convicts surrounding their property, was worth addressing. Silverhair led the way, flanked by building security now, 2 guards with radios. "Excuse me? This is private property. You all need to move along." Marcus stood slowly, turned to face them. The crew behind him didn't move aggressively. They just stood. 40 men with nothing to prove and everything to protect. Marcus's voice was calm. "This is a public sidewalk. We're not on your property. We're with this lady and her daughter." Silverhair looked at Sarah with contempt. "Oh, so the veteran called her criminal friends? That's rich." The word criminal hit the air like a slap. Marcus felt the crew tense behind him. He held up one hand, subtle, and they held position. "Yes, sir. I'm a criminal. Did 12 years for aggravated assault. These men behind me, 43 years combined for theft, 67 years combined for drug offenses, 22 years for robbery, 15 for fraud, 8 for manslaughter." He said it all flat, factual, no shame and no pride. "Every single one of us paid our debt, served our time, got out and chose different. Now we work, we pay taxes, we help. People," the executive sneered. "Once a criminal, always a criminal. That's what statistics say." Marcus nodded slowly. "Statistics say 70% of released inmates go back to prison. You know what our reintegration rate is? 92% success. You know why? Because someone gave us a chance when nobody else would." He gestured to Sarah. "This woman served 6 years in a combat zone. She has medical training, leadership experience, and a work ethic you couldn't buy. And you humiliated her because she has PTSD from serving the country that made you rich enough to afford that suit." Silverhair's face reddened. "I don't have to explain my hiring decisions to criminals." Marcus stepped closer, not threatening, but suddenly the space felt smaller. "No, you don't, but you will explain them to the 40 phones currently recording this conversation." He gestured around. The crew had their phones out, every angle covered, streaming live. "You will explain to your Fortune 500 board why your HR director just violated the Americans with Disabilities Act by discriminating against a disabled veteran. You will explain why Henderson Finance values image over integrity. And you will explain why this story is going to be national news in about 6 hours." The executive sputtered. The security guards looked uncertain. Marcus continued, voice still calm. "Or you can do something different. You can go back inside, talk to HR, and offer this woman a real interview. Not because we're forcing you, because it's right." For a long moment, nobody moved. The rain came down. Emma held her mother's hand. 40 ex-inmates stood witness. Finally, one of the other executives, a woman in her 50s who'd been quiet until now, spoke up. "Richard, he's right. We're exposed here, legally and publicly." She looked at Sarah. "Ma'am, would you be willing to come back tomorrow for a formal interview with our senior medical staff?" Sarah stood frozen. Marcus turned to her. "Your choice. Nobody makes it for you." Sarah looked at her daughter, at Emma's hopeful face, at the opportunity she'd begged for being offered now out of fear, not respect, but offered nonetheless. "Yes, I'll come back, but I need it in writing, email, tonight." The female executive nodded. "You'll have it within the hour." The executives retreated. Security followed. The crew lowered their phones, and Sarah sat back down, shaking now that it was over. Marcus sat beside her, careful to maintain respectful distance. That's not how we normally operate. We don't usually strong-arm people, but sometimes the system needs a push. Sarah turned to him, really looking at him for the first time, past the tattoos and scars to the man underneath. Why? Why did you stop? You don't know me." Marcus was quiet for a moment, then, "7 years ago when I got out, I had nobody. No family left, no job prospects, nothing. I was 51 days clean, 51 days out, about to give up. And a woman, named Patricia Chen, who ran a soup kitchen, gave me a job washing dishes. Minimum wage, night shift. She didn't care about my record, she cared that I showed up." He looked at the rain. "Patricia died 3 years ago. Cancer. Before she passed, she made me promise something. She said, 'Marcus, you know what it's like when the world gives up on you. Don't let that happen to others if you can stop it.' So I don't. I built the Second Chance Project with 8 guys from my prison group therapy. Now, we're 40 strong. We do construction, renovation, community service. We hire people nobody else will. And when we see someone being treated like we were treated, like they're disposable, we show up." Sarah wiped her eyes. "I can't pay you back." Marcus shook his head. "Don't want you to. Want you to pay forward. When you're stable, when you're good, help the next person. That's the only payment I need." He stood, offered his hand. "Come on, let's get you and Emma somewhere dry. We've got a community house, temporary shelter for people in transition, clean, safe, 2 weeks free while you get on your feet. You interested?" Sarah took his hand. Emma took the other one. And together, 41 people walked through the rain to the vans. Before you keep watching, tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I want to know how far this redemption story is reaching. And go ahead and leave your like if you're feeling every word of this story. The Second Chance Community House was a converted apartment building on Northeast Foster Avenue, Portland's east side. The project had bought it 3 years ago, condemned and falling apart, and the crew had rebuilt it floor by floor. Now it housed 30 people in transition, ex-inmates, homeless families, veterans, anyone falling through society's cracks. The rules were simple. No drugs, no violence. Contribute what you can when you can. Stay as long as you need to get stable. Respect everyone. Sarah and Emma got a small room on the second floor. One bed they'd share, a dresser, a window that locked from the inside, which mattered more to Sarah than she'd admit. Shared bathroom down the hall. Communal kitchen on the first floor where dinner happened every night at 6. Emma was asleep within minutes of hitting the pillow, exhausted from stress even 6-year-olds absorb. Sarah sat by the window, watching the rain, watching the street, still unable to fully believe the day had happened. There was a soft knock. Marcus stood in the doorway, respectful, not entering. "Wanted to make sure you had everything. Towels in the bathroom, food in the kitchen anytime. House meeting tomorrow morning at 8 if you want to attend. Not required." Sarah turned to him. "Why did you really stop?" "Truth." Marcus leaned against the doorframe, and for the first time she saw how tired he looked. 51 years old, with 12 of them in prison, 7 out working 70-hour weeks to help people. "You reminded me of someone. My daughter, Vanessa. She was 19 when I went in, 21 when she joined the army to escape the shame of having a father in prison, 23 when she came back from Afghanistan different. PTSD, traumatic brain injury, discharge. She tried for 2 years to make it work, and I was still inside, couldn't help her." His voice went flat. "She killed herself 4 months before I got out. Pills and alcohol. Left a note that said she was tired of being broken, tired of people looking at her, like she was damaged." Sarah's breath caught. Marcus continued, eyes distant. "When I saw those suits laughing at you, dismissing your service, treating you like garbage because you have scars from protecting them, I saw Vanessa, and I couldn't let it happen again. I can't save my daughter, but maybe I can save someone else's mother." Sarah stood and did something she hadn't done in years. She hugged a stranger. Marcus stood stiff for a moment, then carefully, respectfully, hugged back. The hug of 2 broken people holding each other up. "I'm sorry about Vanessa," Sarah whispered. "I'm sorry the world failed her." Marcus pulled back, wiped his eyes unself-consciously. "Me too. Every day. But her death can't be for nothing, so I make it mean something. 40 people working every day to prove society wrong about us. 92% success rate means dozens of people who didn't go back to prison, means dozens of families that stayed together, means Vanessa's pain created something good. That has to be enough." The next morning, Sarah went to her interview at Henderson Finance, wearing clothes donated by other women in the house. Professional, clean, her size. Her military bearing carried her through security, up the elevator, into the HR office where the female executive from yesterday waited with the chief medical officer. The interview lasted 2 hours. They asked real questions about her medical training, her leadership experience, her ability to handle stress. They didn't ask about her PTSD. They didn't treat her like she was broken. At the end, they offered her a position as occupational health coordinator. $55,000 a year, benefits. Start Monday. Sarah walked out of that building, made it 2 blocks, and collapsed on a bench crying. Relief, disbelief, hope she'd forgotten how to feel. She called Marcus. "I got it. They offered me the job." His voice came through warm with genuine joy. "Proud of you. Knew you would. You earned that." Sarah laughed through tears. "Marcus, without you, I'd still be on that bench in the rain. Or worse." Marcus was quiet a moment. "Sarah, you would have figured it out. You're a survivor. I just removed one obstacle. The work is still yours. The success is still yours. Own that." 6 months later, Sarah and Emma moved into their own apartment. Small, affordable, theirs. Emma had her own room with walls she could paint. Sarah had stability and savings building. She still attended group therapy at the VA. Still had hard days, but she was managing. And every Saturday she volunteered at the Second Chance Community House, cooking breakfast for whoever needed it, talking to new arrivals who reminded her of herself. Marcus had been right. You pay forward, not back. The story of what happened that rainy day had gone viral, just like Marcus predicted. Henderson Finance faced initial backlash, but turned it into something positive, creating a veterans hiring initiative and partnering with the Second Chance Project to offer job training. The executive who'd laughed at Sarah quietly resigned. The company's reputation recovered, and Sarah became the face of their redemption, giving talks about veteran reintegration and the power of second chances. But the real story happened in smaller moments. It happened when Marcus showed up to Emma's school career day, talking about construction and rehabilitation. It happened when Sarah hired 3 ex-inmates from the project as medical office assistants. When she got promoted to management. It happened when those 3 people stayed clean, stayed working, stayed committed. It happened when one of them, a man named David, who'd served 9 years for robbery, stood up at a house meeting and said, "3 years ago, I thought my life was over. Now I'm 2 classes from finishing my nursing degree. If that's not proof that change is possible, I don't know what is." On the 1-year anniversary of that rainy day, the Second Chance Project held a celebration. Not for themselves, for the people they'd helped. Sarah was invited to speak. She stood in front of 100 people, formerly incarcerated, formerly homeless, formerly hopeless, and said, "A year ago I was ready to give up. I'd fought in a war and survived, but I couldn't survive coming home. And then 40 people society calls criminals showed me more honor and integrity than people society calls respectable. They taught me that mistakes don't define us. Choices do. Every single day, we choose who we are. And every single day, I choose to be someone who helps the next person, the way Marcus helped me." Marcus stood in the back, watching, and felt something he hadn't felt since before prison: peace. His daughter Vanessa's death would always hurt. That wound would never fully heal. But her loss had created this. 40 people employed, 200 people housed and transitioned. 92% success rate holding steady, partnerships with companies, schools, government programs. Proof that people could change if given a real chance. After Sarah's speech, a young woman approached Marcus, 24, nervous, with fresh scars on her wrists barely hidden by long sleeves. "Mr. Williams, my name is Jennifer. I'm homeless. I'm a veteran. Marines, discharged for mental health. I've been trying to find work for 8 months. Someone told me to find you. Can you help me?" Marcus looked at her and saw Vanessa, saw Sarah a year ago, saw every person's society, throws away. He smiled. "Yes, let's get you inside, get you fed, and figure out what comes next. You're not alone anymore." Because that's what the Second Chance Project really was. Proof that the most judged can become the greatest protectors. Proof that mistakes don't have to be permanent. Proof that when society fails people, sometimes it's the people society failed who build something better. Now let me ask you something. Do you believe people can truly change? Or are you one of those who thinks once a criminal, always a criminal? If this story touched your heart and made you rethink your judgments, leave your like now. Seriously, that like isn't just a button. It's you saying, I believe people can change. And tell me in the comments, what impacted you most in this story? Was it when Marcus revealed his daughter's story, when Sarah got the job, or when 40 men stood in the rain for a stranger? And answer something else. Do you know someone who deserves a second chance? Or someone who had a second chance and changed their life? Tag that person in the comments or share this video with them. This might be the push they need. Write in the comments where you're watching from. I want to see how far Marcus and Sarah's story is reaching across the country. If you love stories that show the human side of people, that show real redemption, that aren't afraid to talk about real issues, subscribe to the channel now and turn on notifications so you don't miss any story that will move you and make you see the world differently. Are you crying? Normal. I cried too. Stories like this remind us that past doesn't define us permanently. Change is possible. Second chances aren't favors. They're rights for those who've paid their debt. Write in the comments, redemption is possible if you believe it. Changed my view if this story transformed you. I know someone like this. If you have a similar story, I want to read every comment, every story from you because you're part of this too. Now click on the next video I've selected for you, another story that'll hit you hard. See you there. And remember, judge less, understand more. Everyone has a story. Not everyone gets the chance to tell it.